Welcome to the Scenic Route with Victoria Steward, where we have real talk from women who took the long way home and loved it. If you've done everything right, built the career, earned the credentials, hit the numbers, and somewhere along the way you stopped feeling like it's enough, you're in the right place. I'm Victoria Steward, a financial empowerment coach and recovering corporate engineer. Every week I'm here with conversations about pivots, detours, and unexpected turns that led somewhere better than that linear straight line idea of a career ever could have, or even more importantly, a life. Today, we're doing a solo episode with just me, where we are talking about what your runway number is and why it's not the finish line. Maybe you've been telling yourself that once you have the number, like you'll know what your runway is to leave corporate, to start your own business. Once you know the number of months, then you'll feel safe. That number feels like the finish line. Like when I have this, I will be ready. And that's not necessarily what actually happens. So I have a couple examples of this. In my life, there was a lot of cycles where I'd get myself into debt and then I'd pay it off and I'd be really proud of myself and excited. And then 6 months later, I'd find myself back in exactly the same place. And that felt really strange, right? Except for it is a cycle that I think a lot of us fall into. And it kind of feeds into this idea that we're used to the ups and downs, and like being in that out of debt place, potentially, depending on what your life experience is, might actually not feel safe, which is weird, but it is true. And then we normalize ourselves back to the place that feels normal, which could be being in debt, or in the place, if you are looking to exit corporate and you want to have a financial runway that allows you to build your new thing, potentially even take some time off and kind of settle your nervous system. It's like an idea, but you want it, but having the actual path forward might actually feel terrifying. Because then there's no more excuses, right? Like, oh, I have the money. There's no more reasons to stay where you are, or even if it doesn't make sense, feels like the safe place because it's what you're used to. So, for example, when I left my 20-year career working for the US Navy as a civilian engineer, I sold my house, moved in with my parents, had more than $100,000 in the bank. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, that is more than enough to get me through an entire year. I will have figured this out. Or it's more than enough to get me through most of a year and start another master's program or maybe a PhD program. Who knows? But it felt like it was more than enough. But I had never looked at what my actual kind of spending, my burn rate was per month. And because I had all this money in the bank, I kind of was spending indiscriminately because there was so much there. So when there's so much there, what do you do with it? You spend it, right? Yes and no. Money is there to spend. But when you're building something intentionally, and or you've left the safety of your 9-to-5 job, you want to go into it with a plan, which is not what I had. I had the feeling that the 100K was going to be enough. And because I was like spending like this, or, blinders on, or kind of just like, yes, check, I'll buy this. I will swipe that credit card, this. I actually didn't feel safe. I felt super anxious because I knew I was spending, unconsciously or and going through the money way faster than it probably should have. I was spending money on things that I actually cared about and like experiences and lessons and all of this. And it was really worth it. But I wasn't paying attention to where the money was going, why, what was I trying to build, all of that. So instead, I kind of felt like I was in free fall. Like I left my corporate job to reduce my stress, and it didn't feel any less stressful for quite some time because that foundation was unstable, right? Because I was just going on vibes, as they like to say, right? Like rather than knowing I needed $5,000 a month for my living expenses, maybe my minor business expenses fit into the $5,000, right? Like I didn't have an idea. I didn't have an intention written down that I wanted that $100,000 to last me for 12 months, for 18 months, whatever it was that I decided I wanted. And so I kind of felt like I was in free fall. Like it just continued kind of like that cycle that I felt when I would get myself out of debt, get myself into debt. It was just up and down, up and down. And that is not like what's the word? A sustainable, maybe, place to live, right? Like we're always going to have ups and downs, but you kind of want your ups and downs to be with a little less amplitude. So you're staying closer to that, like whatever your steady state is, you're not going boink, 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 right? It's more like just a little up and down. Right? Like that's the point of like meditation, is that you're staying more in equilibrium. You're not having quite such high highs and you're also not having such low lows. And that's kind of how I feel with relationship with money, right? Like you want to kind of stay in that neutral place. The ups are fun, the downs aren't so bad, like up and down, up and down. So while the number is information, it doesn't actually address that feeling of safety, that feeling of enough that tells you that you're ready to go, right? It just gives you information for where you are currently. So without a system behind it, it's just a number, like that $100,000 in the bank account. And it almost doesn't mean anything unless you have data points to like, what does that mean for your real life? Like in relation to your real life, in relation to your actual spending, in relation to your business, in relation to, do you want to take a trip around the world while you're off before you start building your business? If you're building your business again already, do you have some income coming in to kind of augment your savings? All of these things, right? So without a system that kind of takes this all into consideration, you can end up, depending on what your money story is, where you are in your relationship to money, finances, you can feel really destabilized. So the system itself is, and the thing I have seen is giving every dollar a job. That is what cash flow, like having a cash flow system in place, is that you give every money, every dollar is getting a job. You know where you put the money, you put it there on purpose, you spend it there on purpose. And gradually, because like most things in life, usually it's not a flip of a switch. It's gradually building that muscle of giving the money a job, knowing it's going to be there, and being clear where you want to spend the money on. Because it doesn't mean that if you put money into, let's say, the travel bucket, and you're like, oh my gosh, I would really love to do this course. So you can move the money out of the travel bucket and put it into the course. It's just, you then are moving money around to follow what is genuinely true to you in the moment. So, as you build this practice of actually having like this team, this reliable relationship to your money, implementing your plan over time, that interaction becomes fun, becomes kind of neutral. Like you're just like, oh, it's there, it's doing its job. It's fun to move it, to do something fun. It's especially fun to spend the money you have there to do the fun things. And so you shift from being braced, like, oh no, do I actually look? This feels terrible, to something that feels neutral. And if you've been in a state of stress, feeling neutral is delicious, right? Like it's just like, that's fine. This is great. And then sometimes it's actually delightful. Like I said, you get to take that trip. You pay that credit card for your airplane tickets, right? Like honestly, for me now, every time I have revenue come in, I delight in putting it into the profit, tax, owner's pay, and business expenses buckets. I don't know why I find it so delightful, but I do. I think it's because I know where it's going and why. And that piece of it makes it so easy. And I'm like relating to the money as it's coming in. And I think I'm like grateful for it being there because I'm like, yay, it's here to put in these buckets. And I'm like, paying my bills. Yahoo. So, which is an important feeling to have when you're changing careers, right? If you have that underlying instability around the money situation, how are you going to leave your job to create something new which is a hard thing to do potentially and exciting, if you aren't feeling empowered, at least from the financial piece. If you haven't listened to my episode with Shelby Herbert that we did on Saturday, she talks about it beautifully because she focuses more kind of on the holistic health side of things. And she said that working on your money relationship is so important because no matter what else you do, whether it's a workout routine, whether it's supplementation, whether it's eating a specific diet, sleep, right? Like if the stress caused by money is like there as like a vibration in the background causing this like stress, you will never get a good night. Not never. I'm sure there will be moments where you're so tired you'll have a great night's sleep, but like you will only be able to optimize so far. And that's how I would love everybody to leave their corporate jobs, feeling like I got this, right? Like the money is where it needs to be. I know that for me, 6 months of a runway is plenty because that feels amazing. It gives me time to grow my business if you've already started it. Some people, it's like, it's 3 months. I did a masterclass with Amber Duggar, the creator for Profit for Keeps. And she said that she had some friends when she was leaving corporate who were like, yeah, 3 months or even 30 days. And she was like, I couldn't understand it. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, whatever, I'll find a new job by then. Or I'll have started, I will have some clients by then, right? So it's just like each of us is different and each of us has different requirements for what makes us feel safe, will make us feel empowered when we leave, that we're giving ourselves enough space to be creative, to build the thing we want to build, to bring our magic into the world, and also allow ourselves to rest. Because I suspect that the majority of you have been working really, really hard, 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week, feeling like you always have to contribute more. And you could probably use a little time to just for yourself, figure out what it is that you love to do outside of work. Spend some time with your dog, your cats. Maybe some of you have horses. Horses really love attention too, right? Or you like to spend time by yourself out in nature, climb some mountains, right? Like there's so many options and possibilities. Just like the number, we are all different. We are all unique. The things that really matter to us is all unique. Like my friend, a good friend of mine, she always goes off and goes and volunteers somewhere. Like she's gone to Haiti, and I was like, is that safe? Right? But she is like a world traveler. Traveling is important to her, and giving back is important to her. There's so much variation, and there's so many variables that, like, coming up with the number, then you have to decide, is that actually going to be good enough for me? Because how do I feel inside? And I think about 6 months, and that being whatever dollar amount, 9 months, 12 months, 3 months, right? And then you have to sit with yourself, sit with how it feels, and determine, like, is that going to be enough? Is that going to be enough? Do I want it to be more? Should it actually be less? Could it actually be $1 million and I would still feel unsafe? That was me. I realized that I could have, I don't know, sold my house somehow magically and made $1 million. And without that system in place of where the money was going, I would have still felt like there wasn't enough, which is kind of funny. Because why wouldn't $1 million be enough? Well, when you're spending your money unconsciously, you could burn through that $1 million in no time flat. Hence why, people who win the lottery end up bankrupt, because you have the money. So what do you do with the money? You spend it, which is what it's there for. But you also want to make sure that you are planning kind of for the long game, planning for what you're hoping to build. So this leads into the masterclass that I am going to be running on Friday, May 1st at noon Eastern Time. It is called Know Your Number, 3 Strategies to Leave Corporate and Start Your Business. So knowing your number is important, and then being clear with yourself what it is that feels safe. So you're building towards that safety so that when you make your leap, you are feeling really good and not kind of in free fall like I was. So we're going to build the full picture together. We're going to start with, what do you actually want to build and why? Sitting in that future reality so that you can stay grounded in what you want to build. Maybe, depending on your situation, knowing what boundaries you want to set around your new business, around your next venture, so that you're not rebuilding potentially a super stressful situation. If that's not how you work, some people want to work 80, 90 hours a week because it really fuels them. If that's who you are, amazing. And you would just want to be clear about that. But if, like myself, I want to be able to walk my dog in the mornings, sometimes go for a horseback ride, have to set an alarm if I can help it, like all of those kinds of things. Maybe you want to take all of summer off, or any of those sorts of things, right? Like, so the possibilities are endless. That's the point of leaving, or one of the points of leaving working for somebody else, is so you can structure your life the way you want to live it, and build a business that allows you to do that. So we'll get clear on that first. We'll talk about the framework for getting a runway number, of like being very clear of how much you need per month. And then we will sit with how long, like how many months of dollars do you want or need so that you feel safe to actually go, to jump, to create your new thing, and to pivot. So I would love to see you there. It's going to be super fun. I love leading the 5 senses reality of the future. I feel like it's one of the most powerful things that we can practice, because it gives your body a chance to know what it is that you're building so that you can recognize it when it shows up. which was a very cool experience. Then we'll talk about how to get clear on your numbers, because it really is important, because clarity actually unlocks creativity. I have seen, whether it's, okay, cool, I need to save this many more months of money. How do I want to do that? Or if you've already started your business, how many clients do I want to work with? Or how much business do I want to bring in so I can bump this up faster and I can give my notice sooner, right? So like the little spark, the little light bulbs go off, which is super cool. And then we'll come back to the feeling, that feeling of safety, and figure out what is right for you. Do you want 6 months? Is it 30 days? Is it a year and a half? Whatever feels right for you in your life, so that you can make your pivot, you can start your business exactly the way you want to live. All right. I can't wait to see you. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful rest of your week.